Yo, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on my terminal emulator. His name is Termy. We've been working on him for maybe around a month now, and we're in like a pretty good spot. So here he is, we have like a terminal emulator. He has launched a shell. I can like interact with this guy, right? I can like say like, hey, can you maybe show me that in like a different color? Which is like this, I think. Maybe I should, yeah. He's got like color support, he's got bold support. If I go like git log, we see like something here, and as I resize him, like he's like kind of re-rendering to match what it should look like. We have like bold text, etc. And yeah, so we have something like it's like almost usable, except that there's like a few scenarios where it's not really doing what we need it to do. So an example here is if I scroll down in this, that was kind of hard to see, but in some cases, if there's like a long line like this and I press down again, it's like instead of scrolling down the next line, it's like overwriting itself. And so we were like kind of struggling to understand why that's happening using like the tooling we had. So last stream, we built up this like replay UI, and I made it a little bit better off stream, but here's how it works. So I go to the spot where I think there's a problem. I can hit start recording. I execute the action, and I stop recording. Great. So now I've like created a thing that we can look at, and it says like, hey, we wrote this recording here. And if I run again in replay mode, I now have this guy like with like a little timeline and like a little bit like a log of like exactly what bash or like less or whatever program we're running, what they wanted, like what they tried to do. And so here we can see when I hit like next a few times, we can see like exactly where that bug starts to happen. So here, it's like here, you can see that he's trying to write this stuff here, and right here there's like a chunk of movement, and we can now see like exactly where what that is and what that corresponds with. So in the top left, we can see like, hey, that happened because of this like 0x1b open brace k. I know it's kind of small in stream. I apologize. I should have added support for like font resizing in here as well. But I now know exactly what command is causing that, right? So we can look at like that thing. We look at ANSI escape codes on Wikipedia. And we can see that they're executing this like erase inline thing, and so we can say like, oh, okay, so they're trying to clear a line, and we're actually like deleting not just like what the contents of the line, but we're actually moving the line down. And so I thought what we should work on today is like, one, try to fix this, but two, I've noticed like another bug. I think maybe we can show it where there's like some resizing issues. So if I go back over here and I say like git log, maybe we'll make the font size a little bit smaller even. Here, like this colon, if I show like the debug view, he's supposed to be like rendering at the very bottom of the terminal. And sometimes he's not. Sometimes he is, but sometimes he's not. And so the question is like, why is that happening? And we should fix that as well. And we can use this like feature to debug both. And so that's kind of the plan for today. Let's just see what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So I think let's start with long line rendering. So we just captured that replay. And we know it's a clear line causing this issue. And so I guess we can like start to like make some guesses what is happening there. Probably what's happening is when okay. So the way this is set up is we have like linear buffer of characters. ASDF, and they might have like a new line in here, \n, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And we also have like a terminal like that we're showing in 2D, right? And so we render that as like ASDF and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, like the way that these programs are like interacting with us, they're gonna say like, hey, I have like a cursor over here, and they might say like, hey, could you move the cursor over here? And then write 5, 6, 7, 8. And so what we have to do there is we have to like put that in our linear buffer somewhere. But that position like doesn't exist yet. So what we'll do is we like, where's my eraser? Here we go. what we end up doing is we say, okay, well, his cursor is like down a couple lines. So like insert some new lines until we find the spot where we want to like inject the stuff. And then we can type like XYZ, and that gets rendered here, down here as XYZ. Wonderful. And so then when they clear in lines, like they might say, hey, I want to like clear to the end of the line from this too. So then we like find this area here and we delete the stuff inside. That's like essentially what the clear in line is supposed to be doing. Where this gets a little tricky. Okay, so first of all, why the hell are we doing this way, right? We have a 2D grid. Why don't we just work with a 2D grid? And the reason for that is we need to know where new lines actually are, because let's see if we can come up with an example here. If I do like echo some long line, right? And then that like, oopsies, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That ends up like in my scroll back somewhere, right? Back here. So if I show debug, like this red area is where we're trying to draw, and the yellow area is like where the scroll back is. Or sorry, is that true? No. The red is scrolling along with this. That's not quite right. But the yellow is like where the scroll back is. And here we're like rewrapping the lines according to like the width of the terminal. And so he needs to know like where we put in new lines because we intended, like we semantically wanted a line break, or whether or not we were inserting a new line because like we hit the edge of the buffer, right? And so if you were to just store this stuff as like a 2D grid like this, you kind of like lose out on these new lines that would have to be out here or like in here, right? You need to be able to distinguish between those things. So that's why we do it this way. And so my guess as to what is happening is that replay that we were looking at, let's see if we can pull it up again. Probably this guy. He is right here executing this clear. And since it's at the bottom, what's probably happening is he's like either clearing an extra new line, or maybe it's something like we have like a long line here with no new line here. There's like no new line, but he wraps, right? And maybe he's like clearing this area, and because there's no new line here, we delete this whole line, and like it gets confused about where is visible and where's not, right? Like it might be kind of like moving the scroll back as that happens. Because like the way the scroll back works is we basically see like, okay, we know that there should be like 10 lines visible. Let's find the last 10 lines. Everything else is scroll back. And so we have like some padding that we have to deal with to make sure that like when we clear lines, that like the current cursor position stays at the same position afterwards. So it seems like pretty reasonable to assume that somewhere in our like clear line forwards, he's making a mistake. So first we can like just double check clear line forwards. I guess this is one of those times where I should probably use a debugger instead of logging, but it's fine. We can run the replay and make sure that we see like that clear line forwards log at the place where we're failing, just to make sure we're in the right spot. Boom, clear line forwards, right at the issue. So we know that it's in that area. And I guess what I kind of want to know that we're not visualizing right now is I want to like show new lines on the screen somewhere. I want to see, so my guess is that this line here ends at the edge of the buffer, right? We can see that that S lines up pretty well with the edge here in like this class is. And so my guess is that there's no new line here. We delete this line and then this becomes the bottom. That's my guess. But it'd be kind of interesting to like display new lines on screen. I don't know if that's possible, but I would like to take a look at that. So maybe we'll say, can we show new lines on screen? And we'll say, we'll put a pause on this. Okay. Because I think that will be valuable. We could just log it in this case, but I do just want that to be like a thing that happens all the time. So we can look at our terminal rendering and let's see. Add terminal data to UI. This is probably what we're looking at. And so he says what? He creates like a text layout job, which is a layout job. Okay. And then he applies like coloring info and like bold info and whatever. And then he says, hey, could I shove that shit into the UI, please? And so like this chunk of text is going to like have a new line in it. And when we render that label, the new line is going to, like, the GUI framework is going to inject that new line for us. And it's important, like, we have this like concept that the wrapping of the GUI needs to match the wrapping of what our terminal emulator expects. So, right, if we have like a long line like this, the GUI framework will like know that his width needs to, like, will force a wrap at this area or something. And so like there's also something interesting there where we've created like a frame, right? Like, let's see if I can like, can we do some Pesky art here? How hard is this to draw out? Okay, so we have like a frame, right? And in this frame, he has like the text that he's trying to write out. So he's like ASDF, oops, maybe we got ASDF, and then a \n. So here we could render the \n in a frame. But here, like, it gets a little trickier because if we have like some stuff here, say there was a new line at this position. Now all of a sudden, like, we're not allowed to render that easily in this position because like he's like outside of the frame. But I think with the GUI framework, you can like render stuff outside of where you're supposed to. It's just like everybody will try to stay inside, but I could like maybe manually just take all the new line positions and render them myself. Maybe, which means that I would have to like lay out the text, then inject it, but with the laid out text, find all the new lines. Maybe. I think that there's something like that. Let's see. Let's see. So they have this thing that's like a layout, like I think it's layout job. This is what we have. And it's like basically a list of like sections that we want to lay out, and he is going to put them in some way. And then if I remember correctly, there's something called like a galley in here that's like text that has been laid out ready for painting. So I think that like a workflow that you can do is you can lay out the text, paint it manually, and then paint extra stuff if you want. I think. So let's try that. I just want to see. You can create a galley using a layout job, which we have. Okay. And we just call layout job. So this is called in fonts. Fonts. Okay. Sure. So here we do something like what? Let galley is equal to UI fonts layout job. Right? This is kind of what they're saying we do. And then you can like I assume that you can like use that galley to create a label into widget text. Widget text takes in a galley. Yeah. So and then I could say instead of laying out the job, we just lay out the galley. And I don't think that anything should be changed here. Yeah, it looks like it's still working, so nothing crazy there. Now, we should have information about, I think the galley should tell us, like, where is each character in this layout, I think. So, ooh, row ends with new line. Okay, this is promising. And this is a rect for where the row was laid out. Okay, so let's try, just temporarily, doing something like galley rows. Okay, for row in galley rows. And we probably put an ampersand here so we don't like consume it. And we can say if row ends with new line, can we just paint a new line character at the end of the line? So we can say like row rect is like where the row was drawn. And can we just like UI painter? Can I like paint characters? Is that something I do? Painter, what does he support? Painter, hello? Painter, here we go. Painter makes a painter, and what can I do here? Line segment, lines, 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 rect image, text. Nice. So I can draw text at a position. We'll wrap the text at given width and line break it by layout some text. Blah, blah, blah. Layout no wrap. Layout job. Layout this text layout job in a galley. Paint text that has already been laid out in a galley. Okay. So probably I just do text here. So maybe we do something like, let's just see what happens if I say painter text. And let's put him at the position of like the top left of the row just to see what happens. So we can say row rect left top. Okay. And anchor is an align to two-dimensional alignment. So let's try like left top, I guess. Okay. And then we need to give him some text. Hello world with a font ID. So I don't really care. Can we just, how do we get a font ID in this thing again? Fonts, size, font family. We have like a fonts thing here, right? So how do we get the fonts? Fonts. There's something about like body. There's somewhere that you say, hey, I want the type of text that you want for body. Yeah, here we go. So here we have text style body, and probably we can get a font ID from that somehow. Probably in the fonts, there's a way to give it a font ID, and it will give us, or a font style, and it will give us back a font ID. No, EGUI font style, text style. Sorry, it's called text style. Okay. Does he have? The font is found in lookup with style text styles. You can use text style resolve to do this. Here we go. Yes. Okay. So here we can say that we want to use a EGUI text style body. Like we don't really care. And then we can say TS resolve UI style. Okay. Then we can pass in the font here. And what else does this guy want? He wanted font ID and text color. So can we just say color 32? I guess this comes from the style. UI style text styles default color. Where's like somewhere they're gonna give us a color. Visuals maybe? Yeah, visuals. And override text color? What about just like normal text color? Text color. Ah, here we go. Visuals, text color. Okay. If row ends with new line, and I guess we'll just do this on every row for now, just because I want to see what it looks like. So if I understand what we've done correctly, this should, at the beginning of every line, overwrite the beginning of the line with hello world. I think. We'll find out. We will find out. Close. So it's every line in the terminal is being shown, or every line here has hello world on the left. But it needs to be offset by like the position that we're in or something. I see. So we need to do something like let label response is equal to UI label galley, right? And he's going to tell us where he put the label, which is important. But this guy consumes the galley, but it's an arc galley, so we can hold onto him and use him after. Right. So we can say, hey, please take a copy of this text that we laid out. Like this. And then you can tell us, hold on, I need stood sync arc. Okay. Now you can tell us where you put it. And then we now have to say label response. Well, let's see what he has. Label. He gives us a response, and he's going to tell us where he put it. Yeah. So we'll say let UI rect is the label response rect plus row rect left top. So we'll call this like UI TL or something. And then we can use UI TL here. And does this add work? No. Maybe I do this. Expected vec2 found pause 2. Get to vec2. Nice. Nice. Okay, let's try that. So now the hello world should live on top of the GUI stuff, but that did not work at all. It's close. They're up here for some reason. Because we're in a scroll area or something. And so we actually want it relative to the bottom? No, that doesn't make sense. This is complex. Complex. So this is a painter. Hold on. Can I like painter add? Let's try doing this within the rectangle that the label was at. And so then we should maybe be able to go back to saying, let's just see what happens if we render at 0, 0. Something about this doesn't feel right. So we push, oh, I see. We push like the whole scroll, we push the whole area at once. Like the whole thing we see right, like the whole, how do I call this? Like visible area. We do all that in one label. And so this painter at should give us a painter that works in that area. Create a painter for the subregion of this UI. Let's make sure this is with clip rect. I see. So maybe everything is relative to the top left of the entire GUI, in which case this doesn't actually do anything for me. Because painter at is this, and if I say painter, what does he have on him? Yeah, clip rect. Everything painted will be clipped. Yeah, so it's just for clipping, which actually isn't what I want. Oh, what the fuck am I missing? Okay, so let's skip any galley stuff. Let's just try to print some text at the top left corner of our layout section. Nope. Okay, so we need this stuff here as well. Okay. So we see some stuff up here. Can I do this without the replay stuff? So we see two sets of hello world here. Oh, oops. Also, I'm laying out the label twice, which probably isn't helping. This is probably more of the bug. That's probably where all of the issues were coming from, was the fact that I was laying out twice. Okay, now we go. So you have hello world at the top left now. And can we go back to trying to put it at each like relative to the row rect. So we can say plus row dot rect left top. Here we go. To vec2. Yep. Okay. And now we should end up with one hello world per row. If we did this right, which we might not have, but maybe we did. All right, there we go. So now I've got one hello world per line, and it looks like they're lined up correctly. So now all we have to do is say, if row ends with new line, we are going to paint a new line at the position there. So we kind of want the row right top instead of left top. And then we can just write a \n here. That seems reasonable. Let's see if it does it. I don't see any new lines. So clearly that's not working. Print line ends with new line. Okay, so we are seeing that ends with new line case is happening. I was rendering a new line, not the character \n. Have to put that / twice, you know? Oh, there we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So we are seeing the \n. He's not rendering at the font size that we're rendering at, which is a bit of a problem. So we need to fix that. So I think we just say here, font. I guess we have terminal fonts here, so we should just use this. So we should say terminal fonts. What does this guy have? He's got get family not bold. Okay, sure. Get family false. And I guess probably somewhere in here we have. Yes, they say font ID, family, font ID size. I see. So we can create a font ID from this. Let font is equal to font ID. And how do I construct this guy? It's just like this. So size is font size, and family is this. All right. We're so close. We're so close. This guy can go away. This guy can go away. This guy can go away. Okay. And we have font clone. Okay, I think everything's good. I think everything's good. So now I put new lines. I increase the font size. It shows the new lines, which is great. Oh, sick. And okay, how do we want to? So if I do long lines like this. Okay, that's super cool. Okay, so let's clear. We'll start a recording because this will be easier to work with there. So we do some lines here, we hit enter, and then we stop the recording, and let's just kind of look at what this says. So cargo run, replay from recordings 4, and let's just jump to the end. Hell yeah. Okay. So here we can see that when we were working with the input, he was injecting new lines, but after he printed them, he was not. Okay, that's super useful. And now probably all I want to do is hide this feature behind some flag. So I don't want it on all the time. So we'll say render new lines is a bool, and we'll say if render new lines, we do kind of like this shit. And we'll factor this out into a function later, but I'm too lazy to do that right now because we're actually trying to do something else. And then we put that on a little bit of an option here, so we can say UI checkbox mute self show new lines. And it's going to say show new lines, which means that we need something to keep track of. So here we can say show new lines is a bool, which means that he has to be false by default. And then when we render text, we need to pass this guy on. So show new lines bool alacrity gigachad. Well, no. Well, we're using alacrity now, but we're working towards using termy, and that would be gigachad, right? We want to use our terminal emulator, but alacrity is pretty, it's pretty cool. I think that holy gigachad, yeah. I do think the pitch for alacrity is that it's GPU accelerated. I think that's like the big pitch, and I did start using it, and I was like, wow, it does feel fast. But now that I'm starting to implement one, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? Like, isn't every terminal emulator GPU accelerated? Because every terminal emulator is like rendering with the GPU at some point, right? Every GUI framework has to hit the GPU to put stuff on the screen. So like, I don't really understand. I don't think it's doing like GPU accelerated algorithms to parse text to make the text rendering faster. I think it's literally just like, oh, when I put the text on screen, it's using the GPU, and everything's using the GPU. So I must be missing something, but whatever. This is self.show new lines. Okay. So I think now you've seen Z editor rasterization, smart idea. Nope. What's it do? Okay, so now if I scroll the end of this guy and I say show new lines. Oh, that's so slick. That's so fucking cool. Okay, if it's in link, yeah, go for it. Sick. Okay. So now we can go back into whatever replay we were looking at before, and I didn't name them, so I actually don't remember, but I think it's here. Yeah, and we can say, hey, could you show your new lines, please? And we do see that the line before does not have a new line at the end, which is useful information. For sure. That's pretty slick. Pretty slick. If you scroll down to built like a video game on ZDev. So what is this? This is a web UI? No, that looks like a web UI, but it's probably not. Intelligence, blah, 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 blah. Wow, dude. This is so much marketing. VS Code competitor, enhance for performance. What do you say? Look for built like a video game. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I get this. That makes sense, right? GPU rasterizes the entire window on the GPU. But like, is this not what like Qt is doing under the hood, right? With Qt, you have like a bunch of widgets, and you say like, could you please render all these widgets? And each widget must be hitting the GPU in some sort of shader. Like, I feel like I'm missing something. Right? Because, like, the text layout here for every editor window is probably still done on CPU. And that's the expensive part. Text layout's expensive. And so, like, it seems like I don't really understand. Like, I get the pitch of, like, immediate mode GUIs, right? Like, the reason I like using eGUI is because, like, things like changing the font size are, like, pretty fucking fast. Because I don't have to, like, in Qt, you change the font size, and it goes like, oh, fuck. I have to, like, recompute all this state, and send signals everywhere, and handle them everywhere. And, like, with the immediate mode GUIs, you're kind of saying, like, we're assuming that we're taking that layout cost every single frame, no matter fucking what. And so, like, it should be, like, changing is, like, still fast, because you're kind of, like, incurring max cost on every frame anyways. But, I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably just missing something. Okay, back to the bug though. So I think we can say we're back to 3420. Continuing on with long line rendering fix. Long line fix. It's probably shit, just looks dope. I did like that graphic they showed. And I'm not saying that the editor's shit. I'm just saying like I'm missing some like core concept, unless it's just marketing of like GPU acceleration, right? That's all I'm saying. It's like I don't know what they mean. And I could just be like out to lunch, or it could be marketing. Like I don't know. I'll have to figure it out at some point. Okay. So I think probably we can probably write some sort of unit test that matches this failure case. So what am I trying to do? Terminal mod, and we're looking at clear line forwards. And in here, we want to write a unit test that like triggers this edge case. So I guess what we want to make sure is after we clear a line, we want to make sure that the cursor didn't move relative to the buffer. I think that makes sense, right? So if we're like, if our cursor position is like here, he is position 5, right? With 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's position 5. And then we delete all of the stuff to the end of the line, all of this stuff. The cursor position, like the buffer position associated with the cursor should still be 5, no matter what. No matter where we deleted, we should be at the same point in the buffer. And so for now, let's just kind of like say, let post deletion is equal to, we just recalculate the buffer position using the same logic that we did last time. And we can say assert EQ that before and after they're the same. Okay. Pause del. What did I just write here? Pause del buff pause. That's not like English. Post del buff pause. There we go. Okay. And this needs to be the first element here. Okay. And so now if I run my like existing tests, first of all, like is all of the test cases we've written so far, are they like following the correct behavior? And they are. There's no crash there. Well, I guess first we should make sure that our failure case is triggering that crash. Which I think it will, but we'll see. We will see. So I hit next. Nice. Okay. So we do see that the buffer position for the cursor position changes, which means that like this function is like now noticing that he's making a mistake, which is great. And so now we should be able to write a unit test that will crash in the case of failure. So we can look for clear line forwards. Who uses this guy? Test clear line forwards. So we have something where we hit a new line, hit a wrap. And now we're going to add a new test case where we think the problem is it's the previous line does not have a new line. That's what I think the failure case is. So we're going to clear. It's something like, okay, so our canvas is 10 by 5. So we need to have 5 lines. This is like the current state. So we have one line here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 2 lines, 3. So let's make ourselves get to the end. So maybe we'll start a new one. We'll just start a new canvas. This will be easier. And we'll say that this is previous end of screen. Previous line has no new line. This is something like end of screen, beginning of line. So we'll fill this guy with we'll make him 5 characters long for now, just so it's simpler, and we can say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can just do this a bunch of times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 lines. 6 lines of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we want to clear. We want to clear at position x is equal to 0, y is equal to 4. The last line, we want to clear that. And I think if I understand this correctly, if we execute this test, it should just crash. Okay, sick. So we've got like a unit test reproduces the case, which makes the fixing it way simpler. And I guess we can shove our little thing in here and say, well, what do we expect to happen? We expect it to delete characters 5, or 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We expect it to delete characters 25 to 30. And we expect the visible data to be something like this still or something. This is a bad example. So let's maybe put one of these guys as A, B, C, D, E, F. And then we can say that we expect something. Well, this will be wrong right now when we can come back to it and we fix it, because I'm not really sure exactly what I expect it to look like yet. Okay, so what is this guy supposed to fucking do? I think there's probably something like, well, we know that it's related to the previous line not having a new line. And I think it's just, if buff pause is greater than 0, and what? Cursor pause. Okay, if cursor pause x is equal to 0, we're deleting from the start of line. That's like probably the only case that this is going to be a problem, I think. And buff pause is greater than 0, and buff pause minus 1 is not equal to a new line. I think we just push a new line. I think. Because we have like ASDF 1, 2, 3, 4 clear here. And so if we clear here, the buffer is going to get like go to the end. But here, if we just shove a new line in here, then this is going to stay there. Pretty sure. So I think we just say self buff push new line. Arc test. Close. By pushing the new line, we've moved ourselves over by 1. Because the new line has inserted an extra byte. So I think that makes sense. Which means that this check is not sane. So we kind of want like another way to figure out if that's right. So I'm just going to delete this assertion for a second and go back into the replay and see if at least it looks like it's fixed the problem. Because if it looks like we fixed the problem, then we can find another way to test that it's correct. And I would say that that looks fixed, right? Because before this, responsible was overwriting what was previously there. And now the clear line is actually clearing the line. So that's promising, right? So we can maybe even cargo run and get log. Maybe increase the font size a little bit. And go back to scrolling down line by line. And this looks a lot more sane, right? Before, all of these places where we were getting like new long lines that were wrapping like this, it was not working. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I think... pager equals cat get log. Does this stuff still look okay? Yeah, it's still feeling fine. Okay. There's a problem definitely with resizing, where it would be nice if when we resize we like saw the same stuff that we saw before, but whatever, that's fine. Okay, so I think this is the fix. And so we can put a comment here and we can say what? If the previous line, okay, if we are deleting from the start of a line, we may actually be clearing, we may be clearing the whole, the end of the entire buffer. In this case, if there was no new line on the previous line, we may be clearing the entire, we may be clearing an entire line. In this case, if there was no new line on the previous line, the buffer content appears as if this line has completely disappeared. This results in a shift of the visible area that is not expected. Ensure that the line that was previously there is still shown as an empty line. Reasonable? I think that's reasonable. And so we should adjust our test now so that when we don't do this, it fails. Okay. So what does that look like? We had our test somewhere here. Yeah, okay. And so we can just say this is the area we expect it to be deleted, and our visible area should now show that the last text that we see is A, B, C, D, E, F, new line, oopsies, and then another new line at the end, because I think we always end the buffer with a new line by convention. And this is zeros 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Yeah, I think no, 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be 4 of these now. So I think this is what we expect. I think. We'll see. So this should fail before. And I guess we should see if it passes now. Ah, fuck. So the deleted range we got wrong. We thought it would be 25 to 30, but it's 35 to 36. So let's double check that. 0, 5, 10. Oh, fuck. The width is 5. I've made a mistake here. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 6 characters. So all of these 5s need to go away, and A, B, C, D, E. All these 5s need to go away. Oopsies. There we go. Off by 1s suck. Nice. Okay, so it passes now. And if we comment back out that thing we just added, then I think it should fail. Nice. Okay. Nice. Okay, so we have a reasonable unit test for this failure case. So I think we're chilling. Is that it? I think that's it. So now we can run. I just want to double check again. So git log. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's so much better. So I just like hold scroll down. The thing that was happening before was sometimes the cursor was ending up not at the bottom. And so it's like consistently staying there now. So I think that's pretty good. I can do this all day. We can do it all day. Never moving. Sick. All right. What's next? Okay. Other problem that I've seen. See this? The fact that this isn't at the bottom of the screen is like a bug. That's a bug for sure. And so we need to fix that and understand what the fuck is happening. So let's do clear. We will git log, and we'll just start a recording and see if we can reproduce it. Oops. Scrolling got kind of fucked. There we go. There it is, right there at the end. So we're on recording 5. And oops, we should write down that we started this at approximately 48:20 or something. We'll have to fix that when I make the YouTube, what is it called? Chapters later, but approximately there. Okay. Oops, I wanted to run the recording. So it was run with replay recordings 5. And I do want to run in release mode because it feels... Ah, never mind. I don't want to compile and release. Okay. So it was somewhere around here. Nice. So we can debug render. And where was the bug? Geez, there's just too much stuff. It was here, right? Maybe a little back. Yes. So we can look for where the colon was drawn. It's because there's like too much text happening, so it's hard to get to the exact spot. Okay, but here we've drawn the colon. So this is the bad state. It would be nice to kind of like trim down this recording to make it like easier to work with. So maybe we try to get the font really big and we get log. And what is like, what is the repro here? Do we just, oh, there we go. That was really easy. We just got a little bigger. Okay, let's try that. So we go get log and we start the recording and I just go a little bigger. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Nice. So I should be able to say cargo run replay recording 6. Okay. And here's the resize right here. Here's where we resize window, and boom. We see that when we resize, he moves the cursor to the top left, clears the screen. Nothing wrong with that. Then what does he do? Starts typing in some commit shit. Oh, fuck me. Oh, that's annoying. So he's expecting that when he keeps typing, that it wraps and the curse, like the position of the window doesn't change. But because we've injected all of these new lines, when he keeps typing, all of the new lines that were there stay there. Oh, fuck. So maybe this is like a problem with like the way we've constructed this problem at all. Because we, like the way that we've laid this out is that we need these new lines to track where the visible buffer is. Because the buffer says like, or like the screen is chunked into like scroll back and visible. And it just like looks to see how much text fits in this visible section. And so we inject the new lines in there to like force it up. But it looks like Les is kind of assuming, he's assuming that like we have a visible section and we've cleared the whole thing. And he expects that that doesn't change the scroll back. The scroll back is like fixed. Fuck me. So it's almost like we want to mark. We almost want to like make sure that like we mark the top left corner or something of this guy. Like we mark this buffer position. And we just never let him go backwards. And then we don't do this like new line injection shit. Is that right? Jeez. Maybe. Maybe. So then what? Then they type. They wrap, type. New line, we write the new line, type. And then every time we get to the bottom, we have to like evict a line and move it from like, I guess we can still keep this as one linear buffer, but we just update like where we're pointing the top left to. We just kind of move this around. Might work. It might work. Sounds complicated, but it might work. Okay, so I have a feeling that that's going to change a whole lot of code. But for the better. It's a simpler solution, maybe, than like injecting new lines everywhere. Maybe. It feels simpler. So what? We're going to take the terminal buffer and we're going to say visible start is like a position in the buffer. And so visible start is going to start at 0. Okay. When we write down the state of our terminal buffer for recording, we're gonna have to like write that guy down. So here we're gonna say that we have a visible start key and it's called visible start. And when we serialize him, we are going to take that visible start and we are going to convert him into an I64. Okay, and we need to make an error type for that, visible start. Which means this guy needs to say error failed to convert visible start to I64. Boom, boom, boom. Visible. Okay, so we called it visible start. Okay, we serialize this guy with visible start. And then when we deserialize him, we can just do the same thing when we try to get our height back. We do the same thing for height visible start. And this guy comes from visible start, and we say the error case is visible start is not a usize, and visible start is missing. Which means that we need to add these guys here. So it's boom, boom. Visible start missing, and visible start is not a usize, blah, blah, blah. Failed to get visible start missing, and failed to get visible start as a usize. And this guy, I guess, doesn't have some sort of like source error. He's just not there. And then we can inject this guy. Visible start. Okay. Boom. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Okay, so now what are we gonna do? So I guess inserting data, I think that we don't have to worry about it, right? So we're inserting data. If the visible start is like here at the very top left, we can only insert data after that point. So any insertions that we do are going to not change this position. Hello, hello, welcome. So it's only on like deletion of stuff that matters. So insert spaces, that's again insertion, which should only push things forwards. That's fine. Insert lines, that can do something like we have, you know, maybe the cursor's like here, and we have like this text here. If they insert, sorry, we have like maybe like text down here, and if they say like insert lines, it essentially like takes this and moves it all down. So again, nothing that can like affect the previous position. Okay. Unless there's like new line insertion happening in here. Ooh. There is. So I'm misunderstanding something. Oh, but the new line insertion is the pattern. Okay, we're fine. I think. I guess it depends on if the expectation when we insert a line is that there's a new line at the end. We could end up in the same problem here. Let's open console and see if we can figure out how to like replicate that type of movement. So we want to be able to say something like, fuck. What are we trying to do here? So we're gonna write a long line. Right, so we have this long line like this. And then we want to say something like, go up a couple lines and insert some. So we're going to insert an escape code. Oh, fuck me. Hold on. So we're going to insert an escape code to go up 1 line, or maybe 2 lines. Go up by 2 lines. And then insert a couple lines of padding. Like 3 lines of padding, and then type ASDF. He didn't like that. Maybe he did? And then we need to move the cursor back down by 5. This is insert spaces. Maybe it's P for insert lines. I can't read. Use L for lines. There we go. This needs to be more human readable. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Is this wrap? It does not. So maybe we'll... There, now at least it's 2 lines. Now we can go up by 1. By saying go up by 1. And then go back down by 1. Just to make sure that, like, okay, we're good. And then you can, like, inject 4 lines. Okay, well, that's looking promising. And then go back down by 5. And write ASDF here. I'm missing something. What am I even trying to test? I'm trying to see if inserting lines pads a new line at the end of the buffer. Okay, there's some sequence that we're trying to do. It's like have lots of text. Okay. Insert with no new lines. Insert lines to pad space. And then, like, what are we trying to do after that? We're trying to see write long line of text again. What happens? Does the terminal emulator behave as if there are new lines there? And now the answer to this is almost like certainly not. Almost certainly this is not what happens, and it's almost certainly what we do, right? So maybe to visualize, let's kind of show what I'm talking about. So first of all, let's make sure that I know what the like escape code for insert line is. Insert ANSI escape codes. Oh, it's not on here. I'm pretty sure it's L. Pretty sure it's L. So if we show new lines here we're seeing those new lines at the end, and we can say echo -e, and let's just say, like, I'm going to inject 5 lines here. That must not be it. Oh, hold on. We only behave funny if it's, if we have to go back in time. So we're gonna say, echo, hold on. We're gonna echo a long list here. Okay, we have like terminal buffers filled with garbage shit, right? No new lines in any of this. Ah, fuck, now there is though. God damn it. Okay, so now I want to do something like echo -e, go up by 5, 3, and then inject 3 lines, then go back down by 3. Perfect. This is what I'm talking about. Is that to inject these lines here, it did that by putting new lines in the buffer. And I suspect that that's wrong. I suspect that if we go back up and try to write a long line here, this new line will stay there and that will cause problems. In the same way that our replay is causing problems. Okay. Fuck. So let's think about this. It's funny going from simple GD script to code I completely don't understand at all. I mean, it's kind of hard because it's hard to explain what's like in my head, and we're working with like data formats, and I'm probably not doing a very good job explaining what I'm thinking because I don't even really know what I'm thinking. I don't know if you guys have that where like you kind of have like half-formed ideas in your head, and as soon as you like try to vocalize them, they don't make sense anymore. Probably because you don't really understand what you're thinking at all. You know, so it's hard to explain in these cases sometimes, but I think I get it. So I think the whole model that we have right now for how we're storing text as linear buffer, I think it's just wrong. I think this whole the whole way that we're storing the data is just fucking broken. And I think what we have to do is I think we have to take the visible area and store it as a 2D grid, but with a padding on the right side to give room for a new line if it exists, right? So somebody might write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they might type a new line, and we want to keep that new line there so that we understand like semantically what this means. But then if they say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they don't put a new line and they type 7, 8, the 7 won't go in here, the 7 like gets in here. And if we just keep this as like a 2D grid, then we don't have to do any of this like bullshit padding stuff that we're doing all over the place. We can just say somebody puts the cursor here and we can just go to that spot in the 2D buffer. That seems simpler. And then what happens is when they get to the end of the buffer, we are going to have to take this first line and push it into the scroll back, which we can keep the way it is. Maybe. I think that might make sense. Okay. Fuck. That's annoying. Just use a telestate for God's sake. Yeah, we're definitely making our lives harder. I think that like we overcomplicated things at the beginning, which is kind of annoying. But so we can say, so this guy's gonna have some scroll back, which is a vec u8, which is just gonna be anything that has been evicted from our buffer. Our buffer can still act as a vec u8 with a width and height. That seems fine. And we can just do the math to figure out where in this buffer we should be. Maybe I'll call this something else because that's going to be simpler. Just while I start fiddling with this shit, let's just leave a lot of this stuff unimplemented. Because I think that this is going to be problematic everywhere. Maybe what we should do is we can actually call it, we'll just make a new thing. This is like almost completely different. So terminal buffer 2. Newer and improveder. He's gonna have these things. He's gonna have a scroll back, which is just some data. And maybe we, yeah, I think we just do the same thing. So we have like a visible is a vec u8. Width is a usize, height is a usize. And yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. So if we implement terminal buffer 2, and we just try to like, we'll start with our new method. Womp womp, new. This guy returns a terminal buffer 2. Unimplemented. we can then look at who uses terminal buffer, which should just be one spot in mod, terminal emulator mod. He constructs the terminal buffer, and we'll just say, could you please import terminal buffer 2, the new and improved. We put this here, and then we'll just get a bunch of errors. And we can just, I guess we just copy paste all of the APIs from this guy. That's probably simpler. It's just yoinkies, copy, and pasties. And then we just say delete this function, delete this function, delete, oopsies. Delete this, oops, delete this function, delete this function, delete this function, delete them all. Everything is gone. Okay. And then we just smack an unimplemented everywhere. Unimplemented. And then hopefully we'll be at a point where it compiles and we can just start slowly working through the new data format. And then we can just do a big swappies at the end. Unimplemented, 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 unimplemented. Cargo check. Cargo check. What shortcut are you using for deleting the function body? It's delete in curly braces. So Vim has like, I don't know what they're called. They're called like, there's like the when you say like action, so like change, delete, you can do those in some sort of like, you can do in curly braces or around curly braces, in quotes, around quotes. I think it's called maybe motions. Vim motion. Examples. Yeah. No, I don't know. Oh well, whatever. It's something like that. IDI parentheses a lot. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So we are missing 441 of terminal emulator mod. Hello, recently wanted to learn coding. I know of Python, but not much about it. Do you know of any free learning tools for it? I found an app, but it limits how much you can do in a certain amount of time and that makes you wait. I mean, my recommendation is always just to like make something. Just like, it's hard because like, I guess you don't know what's possible. But yeah, I don't think I'm not one for like books and like courses, if that makes sense, right? Like what we're doing right now is we're like implementing a terminal emulator because like I don't know what the fuck is going on with the terminal emulator, and like this is how like my whole career of like programming has been like this, just compounded over time, right? Being like, how does that work? Let's try it. If I don't get it, we'll try harder. We'll smack our head into the brick wall until the brick wall breaks or my head breaks. And you know, sometimes you give up and sometimes you learn something and eventually you get there. But like I think that probably my introduction to programming was like, I'm using my computer, I have a problem, I want to automate, like, how do I make my mouse click over there sometimes? Like, or how do I like, I don't know. Like, there's just something, like, for me, it's always fueled by, like, I'm bothered. So I don't, the answer, like, long answer to that is, I don't have any, like, resources, but, I guess, actually, a good one, something that I look at a lot, I guess if you're new to programming, it's kind of hard, but I use learn X and Y a lot when I'm, like, coming up with, like, when I'm, like, starting something new. Right, when I'm just like, what does like this language offer me? It's like a really quick like, oh, this is what like the language is capable of. I've used like Code in Game in the past to just like look for like puzzles. That one's kind of fun, but I don't know. Yeah, please align the video with your maze. Thanks. Is that really pissing you off? I can see that. How do I? It's so small on my screen that I really can't fucking tell. Maybe like that. All right. So this guy is expecting terminal buffer 2 new. And 44. This guy needs to do the same thing. Terminal buffer 2 from snapshot. Okay. Are we chilling? Except the from snapshot API on terminal buffer 2 needs to return a terminal buffer 2. Alright. So now we have something. No way, it's misaligned the other way now. It's over. There's no fixing it. It's funny. It's like, it's actually like on my screen. Maybe like around this big is like the video. And so like I'm trying to like align like this. It's like, I can't even fucking see it. So, get fucked, I guess. Okay. So when we create a new version of this guy, his new thing is he's going to allocate a visible section to match the width and height. So let visible is a vec that is filled with spaces. Maybe filled with null characters. I like that. Filled with nulls. Maybe that seems kind of reasonable, so that we can like tell the difference between something that is like actually been written to. Okay, so we'll fill it with nulls. I wonder if we could do something crazy. We could do something like, instead of it being just U8s, you could do like option non-zero U8, which is, if I remember correctly, this ends up being the exact same size as a U8, and it just uses the 0 to flag the option. But then semantically, we won't be able to like accidentally use a 0, which might be good for us. It might be bad, but it might be good. So we can try that. I'm curious to see how much of a pain in the ass it'll be. And the size of this thing is going to be width plus 1 times height, because we're saying that we wanted our buffer to be padded at the side, right? We want like something like this, but with space for new lines at the end, right? So like either they put a new line there or they don't, but we need to keep track of that. So we're allowing a space for new line there. So with plus 1 times height. Okay, and so we have visible, width, height. The scroll back is empty. Okay, so we need to use it's like stood non-zero U8, I think. And I would like to actually confirm here. I would like to confirm that this is what I expect. So I want to see assert. I guess we can say print line visible elem size is equal to this, which we're going to say visible 0 stood mem size of, I think. Stood mem size of, remove the extra argument. Size of val. And we put a little borrow in here in visible 0, I guess. And so this should tell me, if it says 1, then we're chilling. Visible elem size 1. Okay, sick. Sick. Where if we did option U8, it would be 2 because it needs an extra boolean to store if the thing is visible or not. Or sorry, if it's populated or not. Yeah, visible elem size 2. Sick. Nice little rustism going on there. And we'll see how much we hate it later. Okay. So, insert data. So they're going to have a cursor position. And so we're going to have some sort of like way to convert that into the buffer position. So here we're going to say buff to cursor pause. This function already exists, but we'll just make a new one that's the fuck am I doing? Function buff to cursor. Why does this thing take in a buffer position? What is this talking about? Oh, it's where he's trying to write to. I see. No, I don't. What the fuck is that? Right range end. Oh, it's because I'm looking for... That's buff to cursor pause. I'm high. I want cursor to buff pause. There we go. So we can say function cursor to buff pause 2. For now. We'll rename all these at the end. But he's going to return just a usize. Where in this buffer we want to write to? Fuck. And he's going to take in the buff and the width. Yep. And we don't need the height, I don't think, in this new scheme. The buffer position is just going to be... we need the cursor pause, of course. So it's going to be cursor pause y times width plus 1 plus cursor pause x. And I think that's it. Simple. Simple. So when we insert data, we're going to say cursor to buff pause 2, the visible area, using the cursor pause and self width. Okay. And this is not a buff U8. This is a buff option non-zero U8, of course. And this is going to become a pain in the ass. We're going to say type visible buff is visible buff elem, we'll call it. Because I don't want to write... I might change my mind later. In fact, I think it's likely that I will. Okay. So now we can get the buffer position. And there's no, like... Before we had to, like, pad the buffer to make sure that there's room to write in there, we don't have to do that anymore. So we can just say that... But we can't just write the data raw into the buffer anymore because of this like new line padding shit. Which might be actually kind of suboptimal. Might be suboptimal. What might be better? Because like then we have to like copy line by line what comes in because we can't overwrite this area. So I wonder if it's nicer to kind of store this as like its own thing. So we could just have this. Oops, I don't want to. Right, we just have them separate. So we could have like new line tracking. Where we can say new lines is vec bool, right? No, fuck. We can't do that either. Because they might, if somebody writes to us with new lines, we have to put them in, and if they don't write to us with new lines, we don't. So we have to go line by line anyways. Because we have to strip, we either have to strip new lines or pad the buffer. Okay. Sure. Okay, so our insertion logic. He's going to do something like... One sec. We can figure this out. He's gonna go to the buffer position. Okay. Then what? He's gonna iterate over the data for byte in data. He is going to copy the byte into the buffer position plus I. But this isn't really fair. Because he can't just copy one by one. He has to take into account the new line padding. So we almost want to go like data. The data has to turn into data needs new lines, needs pads inserted at wrap width. But only if there is no new line. Oy, 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 oy. So we almost want to like split the data by new lines. Maybe. Maybe. Right, that seems reasonable. And this returns like an iterator probably, yeah. So you can say for row in data split new lines. We're going to write to some row. So we kind of want like our buffer to also have rows. Okay. So this is going to be chunks of self width plus 1. Let visible rows is equal to this. And we're starting at the cursor Y. Okay. That's starting to make sense. Which means now we can iterate rows and we'll call this output rows, I guess. And we'll call this chunks mute. And then we can say for output row in this, so we say let input rows is equal to the data split at new lines. Then we can say for output row input row in output rows zip input rows. There is a problem like what if there is more data than can fit in a row, but I want to just like get something on paper first. Okay. He then just says fuck. Output row copy from slice input row. But now we have a fix me input row might be too big. This feels not simple anymore. It felt like it to me it was going to be simple, but now this feels very complex. Fuck me, man. Ugh! What a pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. Okay. I'm gonna draw famous programming sentences. Yeah, dude, do you know how many times I've said this in my life? Okay, so let's kind of draw out. Here's our input, right? A, B, C, D, \n, E, F. And we have some output. We know where we want to start inserting. Say we still want to start inserting here. What's going to happen? We're going to take A, B, C. Okay, I've got the first line down. Then we're going to want to do, okay, let's ignore the bottom of the line problem first. The bottom of the buffer problem first. We want to insert here. We're going to say A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's almost like these lines are all going to do the same thing, right? They're going to copy as much as we can, unless there's a new line. Unless the new line's at the end. Okay. So we almost want like We want to do like handle the first line first. First line, offset by x. Then we want to handle output in chunks of self.width. We're going to say for each chunk, not in chunks. We're gonna want to do for each start of the line. So I'll just put chunks in quotes here. In say iterate data by incrementing I by self width. If there is a new line in I to I plus width plus 1, do something else. We haven't figured that out yet. I guess copy up to new line. Otherwise, we're going to copy just the width. Otherwise, copy width. Okay. Okay, sure. So that, then, I think that works. So let's try that. We'll try that in code, and we'll see if that is reasonable. So, okay, so the first line, we're going to take this buffer position. And we're going to go to the end of the line. So we want, like, probably we want, like, line ranges that goes from the buff of... I guess we can just generate this. So this is going to return some sort of vector of range usize. That seems right. I guess we need height as well. And this isn't good. We don't need a vector. We could get crazy with it, right? We could say impl iterator, where the item is a range of usize. And then you can do something like 0 to height. This is how many lines we have. Map, each line is going to be let width padded is equal to width plus 1. And so each start is going to be y times width padded to, we'll say let start is equal to this. And each thing is going to be start to start plus width padded. Easy. Okay. Yeah. And then can we move like this? Nice. Nice. Okay. So now we can say line ranges 2 for the width and height. Skip cursor pause y. Okay. Let output lines. Output line ranges. Okay. Okay. So we're going to handle the first line, which is going to be output line ranges next. And data of some length. So we're going to say let first line input. Let data IDX. I like that. This is where we're copying from. He's going to start at 0. And let first line data end is going to be cursor pause x subtracted from the width. Okay. And so the first line is going to be handled by copying this into the output line. Makes sense so far, I think. We'll fucking see. We will see. Fuck. So, output line ranges next. Let first output line is this. I don't know, man. And then we're going to say self visible first output line on wrap for now is equal to data from data IDX to first line data end. Okay. And this is copy from slice, and arguments to this are incorrect. Fuck off. Do I have to do this? 0, no. Copy from slice. Oh, because this is U8s. Fuck off. So we're going to say let data converted is equal to data iter map. Each value is going to go into like a non-zero U8 new from X unwrapped sum. We need to make it like make the types match up. And we'll just call this data here. Fuck it. Sure. Fuck it. This is gonna be like a Beck option non-zero U8. Okay. So then we can copy this stuff in, and then now we can handle the common case. So data IDX is equal to first line data end, okay? And then we loop, and in each of these we're going to say data IDX plus equals however much we copied. So maybe we need to figure out how much to copy. Copy amount is equal to data IDX plus self.width. That's one case where there's no new lines. So we almost want to see if there is a new line in this plus 1. So let relevant line is equal to data from data IDX to data IDX plus self.width plus 1. But this might be too long. So we have to say let relevant end is equal to data len minimum with this shit. So we take the smaller of the two. Great. So we can search for a new line. Okay. So if let sum new line pause is equal to relevant line dot position find iter position byte is equal to new line, we do something. Otherwise, if there's no new line, we just copy the whole thing. So we say Let output line is equal to output line ranges next unwrap. Okay. Yup. Here we need to check if this is some non-zero U8. Yes. Unwrap. Okay. So in the case that there's a new line position, we say data IDX is plus equals to new line pause. Yup. And we copy that amount in. So we say output line copy. Is this not supposed to be self visible output line copy from slice? God damn it, dude. Relevant line to new line position. We want to include the new line. Okay. Otherwise, we just copy the whole line up to the width. Seems right. Seems right. Okay. And then we have to check if data IDX is greater than or equal to data len, we break. And also, if there's no more lines that we can write to, we also break. So let sum output line is equal to this, else break. Okay. And in here we should say fix me, scroll if pushed off edge. And then we return some form of terminal buffer response. Okay. And he says my written range, insertion range, and new cursor pause. And this all just doesn't make sense anymore. Fuck. So can we just stub this out for now? Cursor pause and insertion range. Oh god, this is so stressful. I guess we do need to calculate the new cursor position. That's important. Important for sure. So how do we calculate this? How we figure out what we inserted. We can figure out where we are in the buffer based off of that. Okay. Okay. This is nasty, man. This is really gross. So we need to know where the cursor went. Which means that we need to know which output line we're on. So output line ranges next. This is like next line start. Oh, gross. I guess let output cursor pause equal to cursor pause clone. And do we just like track it as we go? Is that easier? God, this is fucking nasty. Fucking disgusting. Woo! So here, we copy some amount of lines. So output cursor pause y plus equals 1, maybe. Only if this doesn't have a new line. Oh, there's so much to think about here. There's so much to think about. I feel like maybe like the level of abstraction is like too low, and that's making this stuff harder. Like, is that true? Push data into thing. Push data into thing. It feels so simple. It feels so fucking simple. I wonder if I made this like a... If I made this like an actual 2D array, if that would just like clean some stuff up for me. I guess I could make a like sub class, like a class of some sort that like handles this stuff, and then had like what sort of API on it would I want that makes things easier. Like I want like XY indexing. XY indexing does feel like it would work better. So let's just say like theoretically. Theoretically, does this become simpler if I have like struct 2D buff 2D, right? And he has his width and height, okay, and as well his like data, okay, and like, let's just say temporarily, we have like a get function that takes in x and y, right? And he returns a thing we can write to, right? Call this get mute. So that just returns self data times self width. Self y times self dot width plus x. Okay. And let's just ignore, let's go back to just working with raw U8s because I think that will be simpler for now. And we'll delete the concept of scrollback as well for now because it's too, I don't want to think about it. This is going to be buff 2D. Data is 0. And he's going to have, maybe even for now, we'll just make him a space. We'll ignore like all of the padding problems for now. And he's going to have width plus 1 times height. Elements, he's going to have a width of width plus 1 and a height of height. Okay. And like this. Does that make this implementation simpler? So we're going to start at the, we're going to say maybe we take in iterator is equal to cursor pause. And ignoring all efficiency problems, right? We'll just ignore everything. We just iterate data. And we insert the data at the position of the iterator. Okay. So we say self visible get mute cursor pause x cursor pause y. Yep. That seems straightforward. Equals B. Uh-huh. Simple. Simple, simple, simple. Of course, it always looks simple until you actually try to do something. until you handle all of your conditions. But for now, that's simple. Can't take sign, because I have to put a star here. Consider dereferencing the borrow. What are you bitching about? This? Yeah, okay. All right. So we wrote the data in. Now, we actually want to say let data it is equal to data iter. Okay, great. And this is going to be a loop. And let b is equal to data it next. No, I'm trying to think about like how to handle the like look ahead for new lines. Peekable. We'll do this for a second. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. So this easy. Now we say if data it peek. Yeah. Loop. So let b is equal to data it next. Otherwise you break. If some new line, if the next thing that's coming up is new line, we have to make sure that we don't wrap. Okay, so here we go. Yeah. We're getting somewhere. So we're gonna say we have to increment the cursor pause. So we're gonna say cursor pause dot x plus equals 1. If cursor pause x is equal to the width of the buffer and the next thing is not a new line. If it's greater than or equal to self.width, and the next thing is not a new line. If it's equal to self.width, then the next thing is not a new line. This guy returns a reference, so you have to say this. Copied. There we go. What is he bitching about? What the fuck? Cargo check. He wants this to be that. Use copied to copy the value inside the option. I just fucking did that. I just did that. Am I high? He wants me to write copied twice? Why? That doesn't seem right, but we'll come back to it. So if we're at the width and the next thing is a new line, the next thing's not a new line, then cursor pause y plus equals 1, cursor pause x equals 0. Simple. Simple. Else if cursor pause dot x is greater than or equals self dot width, same thing. Cursor pause y plus equals 1, cursor pause x equals 0. Otherwise, nothing. That feels simple and right, maybe. We also have to handle if this might not work, right? So this get mute might actually return something that doesn't exist. So we need to say this is self data get mute this. Okay. Chillin'. And then we can say let sum output is equal to this, else break. And then we can say out is equal to b. Cool. Cool. And then we can implement the getters. Okay. Who is expecting to have some sort of like slice of U8s. He's expecting to get some bytes. A bucket of bytes. And fuck me, man. The new cursor pause is iterator. Okay, so now when we try to like get the stuff out, what do we do? I think that this type doesn't really work. Let's just change this to evacuate for now. And see if everything still compiles. Close. Terminal emulator mod. He's at line 688. This guy will also just say evacuate for now. All right. And where am I looking? Terminal RS. We can just slap a little ampersand on these, and then I think we're chilling. Close. 376. Like this. What is this complaining about? Expected evacuate found ampersand U8. So he's like, hey, I have some data. And is it like this? No, I want references to this. I'm pretty sure that's what these guys were before. Yeah, okay. Nice, just some type resolution bullshit, I guess. And then we just need some mutability things in our terminal buffer 2. Terminal buffer 2. So here he wants some mutes. And cursor pause this should be IT, not cursor pause everywhere. In fact, we should drop cursor pause here so we don't actually accidentally use it. IT, and all right, so we're compiling now. And so now when we get the data, we just return terminal data. Scroll back is empty all the time. And the visible is just going to be self visible data. Except that we can't just copy this data. We need to filter out all of the zeros that are stuck in there. So we're going to put these as zeros, and anything that's a zero, we just say, fuck you. So we say iterate, filter, byte, and byte is not equal to 0, and collect that into a vector. And we will have to come back to this later, but for now, that's fine. Call chain. So this, what does he complain about? Cargo check. I need like a double star here. No, what the fuck? Collect cannot be. Why is data evacuate iterating over this? Oh, I see. Okay. So you want like a cloned like this, and then get rid of one of the stars here, and then I think we're chilling. Yep. Okay. So certainly when I run this, we're just gonna crash. But I would like to like get a feel for if it's starting to work at all. Okay. 480. Where is it crashing? It's trying to set the window size. So I think we just disable this code path for now. Which is from here. Nope. set window size, set window size, set. It's in mod. Terminal emulator set window size. So can we just disable this code path? Yes. Yes, we can. But I think that we have a get window size that we have to implement. And here, we'll just return self width and self height. Okay. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we have something. Clearly, it's not right. Right. Because we're not inserting new lines when we extract the terminal data. Because here he's expecting new lines at the end of each line. Fuck me. And so I guess the question is, do I want that to be the case? We can just fulfill the existing interface for now, sure. So let's think about this. So this guy, we can say function toString. He's going to return. He's going to return a vacuate, which is confusing naming, but it's fine. Maybe we'll call it serialize or something. Okay. And he's going to say let mute output. Again, we're going to start simple and fix later. And so we can just iterate each thing in data. Let y is equal to 0, x is equal to 0. And we're going to say for row, I guess for y and 0 to height, for x and 0 self width. We're going to push a new line every line unconditionally for the output because we don't really care. This isn't like about internal data model. This is just for the thing to render. And then we're going to say output.push if something, let the byte that we're trying to do is self get mute xy. Which means this is being mutable reference. I don't really give a fuck. Ah, fuck. I don't know, man. Self data get y times self width plus x. Okay. If b is 0, break. We're done with this fucking line. Otherwise, we copied in. Which, all of this is like fucking stupid, but it's fine. It's fine. We're just gonna do it like this for now, and then we'll deal with the fucking... deal with later. So now, this guy needs to call self-visible serialize. And we could run this. Are you self-taught or did you major in CS? I went to school for computer engineering, but I remember thinking at the time that the courses I took were like effectively useless because I had like already learned programming. So I already knew how to program when I went to university, and I went to university for like computer engineering. So it was like a lot like more about like math and electronics and stuff, with like some coding sprinkled in. So I don't know. It's like it's unfair for me to say I'm self-taught because I did go to school for it, but I don't think that the school is where I learned to program, if that makes sense. Okay, so it looks like new lines are now being rendered or working like correctly. And when I go off the edge, I don't know what's going to happen. Interesting. Oops, ls is probably a bad example. Cargo run. So echo test. Echo test. Okay, so we're getting closer for sure. We've got like the bones in place. And so now we just have to start implementing all of the rest of the stuff. I guess the next thing to do is scroll back. Right, so when we hit the end of the buffer, we have to push stuff into the scroll back. But otherwise, this kind of works. Okay. So we're at 2 hours and 5 minutes, which is kind of about the limit on how long I'm willing to stream. And it does seem like we've kind of discovered a major flaw in like our entire data model. So we're going to have to continue fixing this up. And I think I'll just come back and continue on with this tomorrow. But I think that we've at least proven, oh God, let me just git add -u, git commit -m, smiley face. Hold on. I just want to make sure that we can show the fix. We'll go back one, and we've at least proven to ourselves that this like replay thing is like super valuable. So when this is the wrong one. Maybe it was like 4. Nope. Man, I wanted to show that we had a fix that came out of this replay thing. I guess we can just reproduce it. Right, we did prove that this like concept of being like git log and then start recording, hit down, exit, cargo run, replay recordings 7. Right, we did prove that like seeing this sequence happen where we can like go step by step and see like, oh, okay, so he was trying to clear a line and he broke it, or he went back in time instead. We did prove that like that's a good like use of this replay. So I'm happy with like the recording system and how it like presents problems. I'm less happy that we found out that the way we're storing all our data is wrong. But yeah, I don't know. If you like, I think we accomplished a lot today. I'll mull it over overnight and make sure that like the direction we're going makes sense, and kind of come back at it tomorrow. If you like what you saw, I stream most days around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time for 1 to 2 hours. We're working on this terminal emulator right now. Probably will be for like the near future. But we do some sort of variety on here. So we've been working on like operating systems, artificial intelligence, 3D rendering, I don't know, like virtual file systems. We've done like whatever I feel like working on is what we end up doing. If you want to see past projects, there's a GitHub and YouTube link in the Twitch description, where there's like on YouTube, there's like playlists for each project. On GitHub, the projects are there. And if you're watching on YouTube, you should swing by on Twitch, say hi. I think that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!